And a pleasant good evening on this Kansas City Chiefs instant reaction video here on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and WIBW News on Facebook. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is on screen with me. We are reacting to the Kansas City Chiefs choking away a fourth quarter lead in Denver and losing to the Broncos 22-19. The divisional championship streak is over. You can lie to yourself if you want. That's done. This team will now be fighting an uphill battle to make the playoffs, and it is what they deserve because that was a grotesque Chiefs performance tonight in the Mile High City. We'll break it all down. I want to invite you, if you are not already, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and like our Facebook page, WIBW News, so you get more content like this if you are a Chiefs fan, or if you're dropping by tonight, you're a Chiefs hater, you want to bathe in the schadenfreude. I cannot say I blame you because Bronco fans are going to drink this one in. This is their first, well, it was last year. That wasn't a real win, and everybody kind of knew that. But this one, there's no excuse to be made. There's no blocked field goal, Deus Ex Machina at the end to save the Kansas City Chiefs. The better team won. The team with the quarterback who played better won. And the Denver Broncos are going to, in all likelihood, snap the 9-year streak of division championships for the Denver Broncos. And it is the least the Chiefs deserve. Let's just go ahead and start with that, Brendan Dworzinski. That was, I don't want to hear anything about Andy Reid's post-bye record ever again. I am done hearing about that because that team that we saw today with an extra week of preparation for what they knew was going to be their biggest game of the season, their last chance to really get back into and make an impact in the AFC West race. They were undisciplined. They were sloppy. They were never in rhythm, and they deserved to lose this football game, Brendan.
Yeah, and, you just look at the penalty discrepancy and like, well, the Broncos had, tons more penalty yards. And look, I don't think the Broncos are coming out of this like, oh, yeah, that's the most, that's not a Lombardi team out there by a Joe Lombardi team maybe. But, like, still, the Chiefs, it felt like every single time they needed something to go right, they needed something to, mesh well, to gel. It just wasn't there. And somebody in the YouTube comments, even before we went live on the show today, made a comment about how, the offense is just gone. And it looked like it was going to be an elite unit. And it just has kind of dissipated in the last couple of weeks that, hey, where did this go, from the Jaguars game and the next couple on from there? It's like, oh yeah, this is MVP caliber Mahomes. This is the Chiefs offense that we thought we were going to get. And it just hasn't been there. And you had the 10 penalties today, even if it was only for half as many yards as the Broncos were assessed in penalties, still 10 penalties in a game you lost by 3 points. And I don't care if the other team is equally undisciplined. You play that poorly and with such little discipline on the road in a truly hostile environment. There are not many NFL crowds. And I'm not saying this is Denver every single game, but there are not many NFL crowds that you can genuinely describe as hostile. Like it is just, that's a college football thing more than it is an NFL thing. But this crowd was live from the very beginning. You play with that kind of lack of discipline, you're going to lose more often. Who was, in this game on the margins? You talk about a team that is very good defensively in Denver, elite defensively in Denver, and has enough offensive playmakers and a play caller. You can say what you want about Sean Payton and the fact that he's an ass. He is. I think anyone would tell you that, but he's also great. And I mean, truly great at what he does. And today, look, his quarterback, as much as I am, very encouraged more often than not to say, yeah, this dude's not actually good. He made a couple big throws, 3rd and 15 on the final drive of the game. That throw at the very end, look, dude might have been open, but Nix made the throw. Plenty of quarterbacks don't make that throw. Guys who I think are more in line with who Bo Nix is in terms of the tiers of quarterbacks in the NFL, he came up and made them. You look at the things on the margins. You lose by 3 on the road. Who lost the turnover battle? The Chiefs did. Who was worse on special teams today? The Chiefs were. The Chiefs special teams, Dan, like, I understand that nothing is going to change. Okay, I know it because it's Andy Reid and Tobe is his guy. I understand it. I would like to say, though, and you know this because you and I have worked together for a very long time, I have been complaining about a certain chief special teams coordinator for a long time and getting bailed out by individual players. This operation, special teams wise, sucks. It is bad. It's not, oh, they had a rough game. It is awful. It is an
Dog
abysmal
ass. Total dog
operation.
ass.
So you end up in a situation like this where, like, hey, maybe if Harrison Butker had a damn clue, maybe if you stopped committing stupid plays, stupid mistakes on special teams, maybe you flip this game. But that is unfortunately who this Chiefs team is right now.
Well, how do you lose close games? Because the Chiefs now 0-5 in one-score games. One of the ways you lose close games, turnover battle. Chiefs lost that, did not force a turnover, and Mahomes had that terrible pick in the red zone that cost the team at least 3 points. And special team. The Chiefs make up for their inability to cover a kick with their inability to return a kick. Ariza was good. I'll give him some credit. Matt Ariza, I thought, flipped the field there late with a decent punt.
Because it was the perfect game for Matt Ariza because they kept getting pinned deep. You don't have to toss and corner a 60-yard punt. It just, because I had the same thought the last one he booted, like, oh man, he's launching rockets. Well, yeah, he looks great because he's good at one thing and he didn't have to do anything else today.
Yeah, the special teams is horrendous, and it's been horrendous from game one. Even if Butker's been more reliable, that blocked extra point changed the complexion of that football game. Broncos maybe start pressing if they're down 4. Instead, down 3, they let the game come to them because they knew they were going to get stops. Because let's go to that Chiefs offense, which was, you want to talk about dog ass. It's everybody. Everybody except maybe Travis Kelce, and even he dropped one right through his fingertips. Mahomes early in the game was hitting a lot of guys in bad spots, the hands. He had that throw to Rashee Rice that Rice drops at the end of the first half. That cost him points. That was one that cost him points right there. But this is 5 games in a row in the post-bye, by the way. And I did this research. If you listen to 580 Sports Talk earlier this week, this is 5 post-bye regular season games in a row where Mahomes has been pretty stinky. Like, by his standards. Like, you look at his numbers, and there are a lot of quarterbacks around the league that would have loved to have had his numbers today, but he's been more turnover prone and not really in rhythm coming out of byes. And that's been a constant now, really, for the last 5 games. Like, a few years back, even though that game against Tennessee he threw for like 400 yards, he had to do everything in that game because the Chiefs just abandoned the run immediately. But even his numbers in that game, he threw an interception. So more picks than touchdowns in his last 5 post-bye games. And that remains the same with 1 touchdown and 1 interception in tonight's game. But again, they didn't catch the ball particularly well. The wide receiver group and the offensive line was miserable. I don't know if it was injury. I didn't see if I was off social media for the duration. I didn't see if Kingsley Suamataia got hurt again or if he just got flat yanked for Mike Caliendo there. But I noticed Caliendo in the third quarter, and I think he was the guy throughout. He was not good. The tackles were not good. Maybe putting Josh Simmons straight back into the fold after a month off from doing anything football related and asking him to handle Nick Bonito one-on-one, you could tell they didn't really trust it because Andy Reid did something that he never does. He chipped Bonito most of the game with a running back. Reid hates doing that. He would sooner cut off a pinky than chip with a running back or a tight end. He chipped all game long because Josh Simmons was not ready for that smoke. And he might have been ready for that smoke anyway. You give credit where it is due to this Denver defense, which has proven time and again these last 2 years to be a truly elite unit. And Jaleel McLaughlin made plays. Like, that's the second time he's intercepted Mahomes. And Talanoa Hufanga was great. And the defensive line won their battles, but Simmons stunk out the joint. Taylor stunk out the joint. Penalties both forced because you weren't as good as a guy across from you. And again, the mindless stuff like Taylor lining up incorrectly again that cost them on a drive. The Chiefs would get a rhythm and then immediately get penalized. It was an atrocious offense performance. And for a coach and a staff that has been praised rightly for years for coming out of the bye with a great game plan, with great stuff, with a good plan to move forward. They look like they spent 2 weeks hanging out with Taylor Swift. They look like they spent 2 weeks on a boat somewhere and completely away from football. That was inexcusable to come out and look that unprepared for what Denver was going to throw at them and be that. They were soft on offense, man. They were soft up front. Kareem Hunt playing through it. He was tough. I give Kareem Hunt some credit. He played tough. Kelce had the 91 yards, the touchdown where he ran through Hufanga. He always brings it. Everybody else got to really look in the mirror, even number 15.
Well, and you mentioned something there, Dan. Well, 2 things. One, and Goober's on this in the YouTube comment section, concussion protocol for Kingsley Suamataia. So
okay, thank you for that.
Him, but not that
he was Malcolm Roach was treating him like a turnstile. So maybe he was just dizzy from getting spun around by Malcolm Roach.
The thing that really gets me, and you just ran through the laundry list of these things that went wrong that contributed to this loss. It's things that we have known are problems with this team that they cannot figure out. It is the offensive line. It has been better this year. There is no doubt about that. But up against an elite pass rush, they were paper thin and they were Charmin soft. And it was just not good enough in this game. The drops, not good enough. It's the same thing. It's special teams errors that we've already been over. It's the same problems. And it's the fact that we are now 10 games, 11 weeks into this season, and the Chiefs have not figured out how to solve these problems. Our guy Jeffrey in the comment section right now says, hey, don't give up. They're still a good team.
Are
what
they?
is good?
They're 5-5 and they can't win a close game. How sure are we that this is a good team?
And to that point,
your record, right?
Now our guy Jeffrey is a Raiders fan, so I know it's for our guy it's a little bit different. The bar is a little bit lower,
yeah.
Right? No, just giving our guy a hard time. But on a serious note, like in theory, Simmons looked good when he was available at the start of the year at left tackle. We know Humphrey's good. We know Smith is good, but if they're not playing well as a unit, then how good are they? Like Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. This does not change that. And if you're going to react to one game and change your opinion, enjoy watching Colin Cowherd tomorrow morning. Like that's not for me. But
you see that throw he made to Thornton on that touchdown drive, that first touchdown drive, like that's right. That's the one-of-one stuff. And they missed on a couple of those other deep shots that could have changed the game.
But and the thing is, when you are that good and that great, you are held to a higher standard, and he did not meet that standard today. Kelsey did. Kareem Hunt was tough in this game, but guys are dropping things. Like, dude, to get back to the point I'm trying to make here, what is it going to take for Juwan Taylor to get his head out of his ass? Like, and I'm sorry to be crass about it, but like, dude, you have been called for the same penalty over and over and over for years now. How do you not figure this out? How is no one on the sideline holding him accountable for this? Figure it out or you're out of the damn game. And I know that he's your best option there. And I know this is the NFL and it's different. This isn't high school. But guys, you've still got to hold people accountable. And if you're not going to figure this out, then you deserve this. You alluded to it at the beginning, Dan. Like, you deserve what you get if you're going to continue to make the same mistakes over and over and not change them, because it feels like a lot of these mistakes are things that you should be able to change, and yet the Chiefs are completely incapable of doing so.
And the shame of it is that during that run where the Chiefs went from their 0-2 start to their 5-3 record, they ripped off 5 wins and 6 there. A lot of these things weren't problems, right? The drops weren't happening. The tackles were playing well, even when it was more deputizing for Simmons. Taylor was at least playing penalty-free football on the other end. And they were just sharper, and they were just the lack of crispness. It happens sometimes. It's football, right? Sometimes you're just not as sharp as the other guys are. But out of a bye? Like, this is supposed to be your thing as the Chiefs. This is supposed to be one of the Chiefs' biggest advantages. And for years, it has been one of their biggest advantages. They are more well prepared for games like this. They know what to do in these late and close situations because Andy Reid is on the sideline, Steve Spagnuolo is on the sideline, and Patrick Mahomes is under center, and those guys figure it out. That's what we said all last year. For all of that team's flaws, you had Andy, and you had Spags, and you had Mahomes, and those guys figured it out. And it's the same guys, and I don't think those three forgot how to do their jobs, but boy, it was an example today of nobody doing their job well. Defensively, I do want to give a little credit to the Chiefs defense because early in that game, a couple of big red zone stops. That could have been 14-0 in a hurry because special teams put their back to the wall. And you knew Peyton was going to have a good first drive schemed up, and they did. And they took it down the field on the Chiefs, and they kicked a field goal on that opening drive. But it could have been 14-0 right out of the gate. The fact that it was 6-0 and the game remained competitive, you give the defense some credit. They weren't too sloppy. They didn't commit a lot of back-breaking penalties. It's they got to get the stop there at the end of the game. They didn't. Bo Nix has been one of the least accurate downfield passers in the entire NFL, maybe the least accurate downfield passer in the entire NFL. And he hit on those throws today. Like if he was completing, I think he came in at like 39% on throws of 10 or more air yards. Well, that ain't zero. Like he can do it, just doesn't do it very often, but he did it today in a big spot when his team absolutely had to have him. And the Chiefs did not make the plays when they absolutely had to have the plays. And the end result is they take home a well-deserved loss.
The last thing I wanted to get to here, and I want to make sure that I do give some credit to Denver, because Denver won. Like, Denver was the better team today. I don't think they were perfect, but they found a way to win when the Chiefs found a way to lose. And the Denver defense is genuinely elite. I mean, it is fantastic. There are moments where
imagine if they didn't have Riley Moss at one corner. Gosh, he was the Chiefs' best offensive player today, if we want to keep it a buck.
No, he really was. And the fact that they're still missing the best cornerback in the NFL. Like, do you know how hard it is to win Defensive Player of the Year as a cornerback? I think it's only happened twice in the last decade, maybe longer than that. Stephon Gilmore, who's probably not a Hall of Famer, but has been really, really, really good back in 2019. And then Patrick Surtain last year. That good. And they didn't have him in this game. They did have Riley Moss, though. Thanks for that, Chiefs. But they just have so many dudes. They're well coordinated. It's a really good unit. But if you are going to be a championship team, you need to make it shake against other teams that have good units. You're not going to go up against air down the stretch. You're not going to play garbage defenses and terrible special teams units every single week the rest of the way. You got another offense that's coming in next week in the Colts. And even though I feel like their quarterback is rapidly coming back down to earth in Daniel Jones, Shane Steichen has been unbelievable in coordinating that offense this year. That is going to be difficult. You've got to figure out a way to make it work. My point being here, the Broncos are really good, but if the Chiefs are going to be a Super Bowl contender, and I want to hold on to hope that they still are, although it is shaken certainly after this game, they had in this game 3 explosive plays. The generally accepted definition for the stat heads out there in the NFL, an explosive play, quote unquote, is a 10-yard run or longer or a 20-yard pass or longer. The Chiefs, with these receivers and this quarterback and this offensive scheme and this offensive line, had 3 for the entire game. 21-yard pass, 61-yard pass, and 1 11-yard run. Nobody in the league, and it's not even close, has fewer running back explosive runs than the Kansas City Chiefs do. Patrick Mahomes has nearly twice as many, if I'm remembering correctly, explosive scrambles as the running backs for this team have explosive runs this year. If you're not going to be able to pick up big chunks, I get who the personnel are. I'm not trying to rewrite history here. I'm just saying you have to find a way to create these plays. And if you don't, again, just like the repeated mistakes, how do you expect to beat good teams?
Can we get back to the fact that Patrick Mahomes ran the ball 1 time for 3 yards in this game? Where has the scrambling gone? Remember early in the season, the entire Chiefs running game was Mahomes scrambling. And now in the last 2 games, the Bills and the Broncos, which you kind of feel like today was absolutely, by the commonly accepted definition, a term I hate to use, but commonly accepted definition, this was a must-win for the Chiefs. And Mahomes unwilling to run the football. And Mahomes was unwilling to run against the Bills. Saving it for January? Dog, get to January.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I did have to catch part of this game. The kiddo and I were out, so I was listening on the radio. I was listening to Mitch and Danon, and Danon Hughes did mention during the late first quarter, I believe it was, maybe it was early second, trying to remember exactly, but he brought up that teams are now scheming things differently up front in their front 6, front 7, even just with their edges, about how they're rushing a little bit differently to try to keep Mahomes from scrambling and to keep him on his spot, which normally, like, you want him to stay in the pocket and throw like that. That's extremely dangerous. But when you know how good this Mahomes scrambling ability is, and the fact that it has been the safety valve, the safety blanket for this Chiefs team pretty much his whole career, not having that changes a lot for an offense that is still searching for answers. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that, someone who's obviously far smarter than me, and Danon Hughes on the Chiefs radio broadcast brought up that, hey, this is part of opposing defensive schemes now. So what are the Chiefs going to do to answer it? If the answer is nothing, then suddenly you are struggling and no longer have that safety net.
Final thought from me in this one is that it's time to start looking at the numbers 5, 6, and 7, because those are the seeds the Chiefs are going to be fighting for the rest of the way. Toss the division out the window. The 9-year streak, it's over with. No new shirt for our pal Marco Marquez this year. I know the math hasn't entirely ruled it out, but it's done. That's over with. That's not happening. This team isn't winning a division. Frankly, they don't look good enough to win a division. And right now they are chasing a wild card. And if they lose to the Colts, which is an entirely realistic possibility next Sunday at home, all of a sudden, a playoff streak is what is in jeopardy for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll react to that one next Sunday. We'll have more to say about this one. Got to keep some bile in the spleen for tomorrow from 3 until 6 on 580 Sports Talk. We'll break this one down, talk about the rest of the weekend that was in sports, Kansas State, KU, college football, the NFL, and a whole lot more. And, oh, yeah, number 2 team in the country, Ichabod basketball. Holy moly, they're good. Anyway, it's nice to leave us on a bit of a high note there. That's Brendan Dworzinski. I'm Dan Lucero. Again, 580 Sports Talk, 3 to 6 weekdays at 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 and on these same video channels. Go on and like and subscribe this YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and WIBW News on Facebook for more content just like this from our respective basements. For Brendan, I'm Dan. This is good night. Thanks for watching this Chiefs Instant Reaction. Again, Denver 22, the Chiefs 19.